Hello, I'm Eve from the University of Pennsylvania's English Language Programs, and today we're talking about the Duolingo English Test, the DET. In this video, we're going to talk about the extended speaking tasks. First, we'll look at the two types of extended speaking tasks. Then, we'll talk about how your response is evaluated. And finally, we'll talk about tips and strategies, both for preparing for the extended speaking tasks and what to do when you see them on the DET. Let's start with the read, then speak task, which is one of the types of the extended speaking tasks. Let's look at the instructions first. Prepare to speak for at least 30 seconds about the question below. So as you can see, you get a little bit of preparation time for the read, then speak question type. Let's talk about timing now. Yes, the instructions say 30 seconds, but the truth is you get a 90-second window to respond. Just below the instructions, you'll see the prompt. The prompt tells you the topic, and then the bullets underneath offer you subtopics that can help you elaborate or add details. Finally, in the lower right-hand corner, you have a record button, which will then turn into the next button, which you should only hit when you're ready to submit your response. You'll have two of these on the graded adaptive section of the test. And adaptive means that the questions increase and decrease in difficulty based on your performance as a test taker. The sequence of questions is not established before the test. Instead, the test adapts or changes depending on whether you answer a question correctly or incorrectly. The second type of extended speaking task is the listen then speak task. Many of the elements are the same as the read then speak task, but the only difference is that the prompt is audibly delivered, not written on the screen. This means you're listening to the question that you must answer rather than reading it. You can hear the prompt a total of 3 times. It's automatically played for you when the question appears, and then you can choose to replay it 2 more times. Similar to the read then speak task, you have a 90-second window of time to respond to the question. And finally, you have the next button when you're ready to submit your response. In the graded adaptive section of the test, you only have one of these. So what makes a successful response? It's important to remember that this is a test that measures your academic use of English. So to be successful at this task, you should try to fill the 90-second time slot as much as you can to show off your English language abilities. In fact, length, or the amount of time that you're speaking, is actually incorporated into the evaluation of your performance in this task. Not surprising, so is grammar. And grammar means the frequency of the mistakes, but also the range or variety in structures. This means it's not a good idea to use only simple sentences. And that might be tempting because it's easy to use the same structure over and over again. But remember, this test wants to see your range. Speaking of range, a range in vocabulary is also important for this question type. Lexical resource means your ability to use specific and sophisticated vocabulary. Next, content is really important. This means your response has to be related to the question. In our example prompt, describe your favorite subject in school. If a candidate focuses their response on their daily schedule rather than a subject, that could decrease their score. So it's a good idea to make sure you understand the question and stick to it. Lastly, cohesion relates to your use of connectors within your response. So how are these sentences or ideas related to one another? Those relationships are usually expressed through transitional phrases like therefore, however, or additionally. Now let's talk about ways to prepare for the extended speaking tasks before the test. Let's start with timing. It's important to know what 90 seconds feels like when you're speaking. For some test takers, 90 seconds can feel like 90 minutes. And for others, 90 seconds can feel more like 9 seconds. It's important not to be rattled or stressed out by the time constraints of the question, and one way to do that is to practice. Another way to practice this type of task is to get comfortable using a variety of transitional phrases. So connecting your ideas, whether you're writing or speaking, is a big part of cohesion. Let's talk about the following types of transitions. Sequence. If you're showing the steps in a process or the number of reasons, you could use simple transitions like first, next, finally. When you're showing contrast, that means you're showing the differences between two things. So you might use transitions like however, on the other hand, or nevertheless. To show an addition means you want to add more details or elaborate. So you might use furthermore, in addition, moreover. To show a cause and effect relationship, you could use transitions like consequently, therefore, or for this reason. Transitions are important for understanding when you're reading a text or listening to a lecture, but they can also be important in conversational speaking and formal writing. So learning to use a variety of connectors can help you understand information in English, but also express yourself in English. Now let's look at what to do when you see the extended speaking tasks on the DET. Particularly for the read, then speak, use the question to give you clues about the structure in your response. For example, describe your favorite subject in school. First sub-question, what is it? Use the question formation to create your response. My favorite subject is history. Here we can see we're using the present tense, both in the question and in the response. Next question, why do you like it? When I see the word why, I know I'm going to explain something, and maybe I want to use the connector because. I like history because it's full of interesting stories rather than formulas like math and science. How long have you studied it? Here we see the present perfect, and we know we need to use that in our response. I've studied history since I was in grade school. These are just a few strategies to help you when you're faced with the extended speaking tasks. Remember, you can practice more of this question type and other question types on the DET website. Thanks for checking out this video about the DET question type extended speaking tasks. You can find more videos like this on the Penn ELP YouTube channel.